since Donald Trump became president of the United States and whipped up this crisis. But the president says it's fake news. What? When we quote his own words, here's the president of the United States whipping up hatred and frenzy, talking about invasions that when he was president of the United States didn't exist. They were at 50-year lows. Lowest point since I was like 5 years old. And here's Donald Trump saying invasion time and again to whip the crowd into a frenzy and then say, what can we do? And somebody says, shoot them. And the president laughs and then gets a huge applause. Let's play this clip again and you decide whether you think it's fake news or not.
When you see these caravans starting out with 20,000 people, that's an invasion. I was badly criticized for using the word invasion. It's an invasion. But how do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that statement. Only in the panhandle. So it's a tough situation.
The president is laughing because
it's funny.
Everybody in the crowd thinks it's funny that they're talking about shooting Hispanics. Play it again, Alex.
This is an invasion. When you see these caravans starting out with 20,000 people, that's an invasion. I was badly criticized for using the word invasion. It's an invasion. But how do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that statement. So it's a tough situation.
Congresswoman, is it fake news that the president of the United States, we played the clip 3 times, is sitting there talking about invasions of Hispanics and then leading the crowd in a big roar and laugh and applause when somebody says, shoot Hispanics?
Joe, when I first saw that clip right after the rally, I have to tell you, it was very painful to hear. It's actually even more painful to listen to now. I worried about what was going to happen in our country. I have to again say that in El Paso, we have chosen to look at hate and return that with love. And we are going to keep doing that.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.